but you are right in a way. You just don't realize how you're correct. In a way, what he's doing is standard practice. It is incredibly standard practice for.
Just be consistent with your standards. Don't have this attack on Andrew Tate and say, oh, see, he's using this kind of dishonesty, or he is veiling his true intentions just for the purposes of manipulation. Don't have that kind of standard for Andrew Tate, when in reality, these are practices, best practices for all of pornography. Anything that involves that level of sex and money together is going to be complicated in that kind of way.
When you say that it's standard practice, can you think of a single other pornographic studio in the world that manages their talent this way?
I imagine that it's
I don't care what you imagine. Okay, so it's not most of them. Women on Pornhub are individually.
How do you know?
Because I'll tell you. The women that do OnlyFans aren't managed in this way. You can be an independent creator. You don't have to move anywhere. The women that work on Pornhub are all independently managed. For larger companies and studios like Brazzers and other people that manage talent, you never fly them around the world and keep them locked up anywhere. For the girls that work on My Free Cams, they're only.
Where's your proof?
My proof is
how do you know those companies don't do that? How do you know
because
those
one, I know people.
Pornhub was investigated for child pornography and all kinds of illegal practices, and they were demonetized. Their payment processors closed them down. It was a huge scandal. Pornhub was involved in all kinds of criminality.
What do you think Pornhub was involved in? What do you think Pornhub was involved with?
They were involved with child, having
videos
of child pornography,
yeah, how were they
and
involved
not
with
taking
that?
it down.
There you
not
go.
Taking those
so
Pornhub
themselves did not produce any of that, right? Whether it's criminality or not,
they're profiting off of it.
That's up to not anymore. That's why they have very stringent application things. Also, for the audience, notice how you just pivoted again to something completely irrelevant. The reality is that there is no. I brought up Pornhub as an example of a place
of a great
where
model of pornography,
where an individual
ethical model of pornography. That was what you brought up.
Gentlemen, hold on, just to be sure they can hear each of you.
I know you're really triggered about porn. If you want to do a porn debate, we could have just done a porn debate, but I'm not here to do a porn debate. I'm here to do a sex trafficking debate. You made the argument that this was standard practice. I know from personal experience it's not standard practice, and I know from every woman that has ever spoken being in these industries it's not standard practice, but you are right in a way. You just don't realize how you're correct. In a way, what he's doing is standard practice. It is incredibly standard practice for pimping. And if you watch any interviews with a pimp, if you watch the terminology that Andrew Tate uses, if you see the entire guide that he had on his Cobra PhD website that's now taken down, that I've linked you an internet archive of, if you read any of the statements there, that is a guide on how to pimp. Terminology that he uses like bottom bitch, the idea of bringing in one woman to lure another woman in to work for you, the idea of having women that think that you're part of a relationship with you and then moving them to another country to do sex trafficking, all of that is standard practice, but it's standard practice for pimping. So you don't have any examples of any studios anywhere that do their sex content like this, despite you saying it's standard practice and that you imagine it so. I don't know why you're imagining about porn. That sounds like it would be haram or something. But yeah, the idea that this is standard practice, you can't think of anybody that does it. I know that that's not true. I just named you like 3 or 4 different organizations that have women that do this that aren't managed in that way. And everything you're saying is standard practice, but it's standard practice in regards to pimping.
Yeah, I mean, I just find it funny how you mentioned like 2 main companies, and one of them, Pornhub, was involved in a major scandal of violations of ethics.
It had nothing to do with sex trafficking.
Don't interrupt me. Don't interrupt. Also, there are many people who complain about being exploited by Pornhub. You can just Google it. I was exploited by Pornhub, and these are quote unquote independent creators. Like just Google someone like Mia Khalifa who says that I was exploited by Pornhub. So there's plenty of testimony from these former porn actresses who say that I was exploited by these companies.
Did any of them say that they were moved to another country and forced to work in a basement?
Or they said they were exploited. They said that they were coerced. They said that they didn't know. They were preyed upon by these companies.
Preyed upon or coerced how?
All of those statements. Ask them. They're saying that they were.
You're the one citing them, so I'm asking you.
They were promised all kinds of celebrity status and all kinds of riches. They were lured into the pornographic industry at a young age, at 18 years old, and they didn't know better. And they are arguing that these companies are all exploitative.
Okay. So here's a question. If Andrew Tate was Christian, would you be defending him?
I find it amazing.
That's what I thought. Okay, so then move on to the next topic.
Yeah, I have many examples. No, you don't.
Oh, go ahead. Give me an example.
You just admit healings are subjective.
Do you understand what mens rea is?